Here we go. Good evening and welcome to Waking God's Child YouTube channel. I'm here with my co-host Candy Nelson. We are coming to
Hi.
you live from Florida and Texas. Hope everyone's feeling well and alive and healthy and blessed this evening. And Candy, how are you? Everything
I'm
going
doing.
good on your side in your neck of the woods there in Florida?
Yes, ma'am.
Yay, awesome. So, as you all can see tonight, our title is They Live. No glasses needed. And for any of you that saw that, I believe it was 1986 film, um, Candy, you said who it was with earlier. I can't even remember, but it was a movie about
Roddy,
basically just
Roddy,
what was it?
Roddy Piper. Roddy
There
Piper.
you go. There you go. So basically, a movie where these people are walking around everyday life, right? But the second this man found this pair of glasses, the second he would put those on, he was able to see into the spiritual
Real world.
realm or
Real world.
the real world, exactly, the supernatural world, or actually in what I like to believe, the world that is actually surrounding us, all of us. And we're no longer in that ignorance is bliss kind of mode once those glasses are donned and put on. Hello, Hottie. Hottie's here in the house. Nice to see you again. Always nice to see you every time. I'm trying to sound professional here. I am completely not, as you know. I lick windows and I wear a helmet when I do so. So therefore, it's a long reach. So yeah, I said that out loud. Sharon's here too. Hello, Sharon. We love you. So we were talking about that movie, the show They Live, and the fact that in our world, with many of us, there is absolutely no reason that you have to wear those glasses and able to see reality. Hi, James Wilson. Just gonna call him JJ if that's okay. Connie, hello, Connie. Love you, Connie. All right, guys. So we're gonna start off with just waiting for a few more. Here we have approximately 16, I think, watching. The numbers keep jumping on me right now. It just jumped down to 5. It was at 16. So who really knows? It took a little bit of effort coming on here tonight.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie. My mic went out, and Candy's like, once again, can't hear you. But with
Hear
that said,
you.
Candy, I want to tell you, you look amazing tonight. Your skin looks so clear, so good. There's no redness to it. It doesn't look irritated, and you look beautiful. I just wanted you to know that.
Thank
So
you.
I don't know if you want to tell your beauty secret, but I mean that's amazing.
No, not right now.
Yep, you guys can't hear it. Nanya. It's Nanya. So anyways,
Well,
so
we were talking about the subliminal messages and the messages we don't see. Like, I don't know if you remember this, but I
yeah.
remember like back in the 60s and 70s, we'd be like watching TV, and then all of a sudden something would flash up like a message across the screen, and it
The
would go
movie
away.
theater, same
That's what.
thing, like a flash of Coca-Cola, ice cold Coca-Cola
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
glass
yeah,
or
yeah.
popcorn. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden intermission and everybody gets up, leaves their seat, goes off to get popcorn and a Coke. They have no idea why they wanted it or couldn't even afford it and going to get it. Um, yeah, and that's exactly right. And I read a book years ago by Dean Koontz, and I believe it was called The Long Walk, which was already a flipping crazy book as it was. But that led me on to another book written by him, and I cannot for the life of me remember the name of that book, but it was more so to do with the subliminal messaging, um, basically in kind of like that movie They Live, or also the 1986, also that movie film as well, where there's just bits and pieces of a flash of message basically in a short instance that you basically are persuaded to get up and do things that you maybe regularly would not, or maybe you would, but just need some enticing in order to do so. Hi, Kim. We got Kim here also. So glad to see you guys tonight.
But the technology now is so advanced. Like George and I, one time, we just went window shopping. This was when I was going through all the custody stuff and all of my grandbaby. We went window shopping because we were broke. Never even went inside a store because we were broke. Okay, we're just walking along outside the stores looking,
Enjoying
and
it.
I saw this pair of shoes and I was like, man, those shoes, those are awesome. I need a pair of those. And never even talked on the phone. Neither one of us. We were just out on an outside mall, walking outside, looking through the windows. We never even went in. Get home, what all over my Facebook was those shoes popping up. I'm like,
And just like now, right?
yeah,
I was
we
just
only
speaking with
talked
someone
about
the
it.
other day, like they're thinking of something they need, and all of a sudden these pop-ups are just immediately like you might be looking for a new home with just one bedroom and two bathrooms or whatever it may be, specifically custom made almost per your liking. And what do you know? There you go. And the pop-ups, everything that you're looking for, your Facebook, you're scrolling through, and there's these ads that will always go through there. But isn't it funny how you see those? And I'm sorry to tell you, and please, I ask that you please vacate the La La Land, because that right there is enough proof that you are being constantly and consistently monitored and watched through your cell phone device, through your television, through all of your modern day technology, that whether you believe is equipped or not equipped with the technology is in fact equipped with it. And we already know that China has been in that exact mode, and
But you
the
know what,
citizen
too?
arrest basically with everything they do.
Just
But
another view on this, but look what we were talking about earlier, like when I was telling you, somebody was posting about the castor oil packs. And so I think for me personally, it crosses over and it actually manifests in the real physical being. Because it's like we were talking about, like, it's like I need something and it's there. You asked me about the coin roller thing. I go to the thrift store, I find the
yeah,
set. And somebody was posting about the castor oil packs. I went to the bin store Monday and there they were. I'm like, so it's just kind of
yeah,
weird that, yeah, maybe they can do that, like mentally, but somehow or another, for me, I think it's manifested
your
into a
devastation.
real physical thing. And
Yeah, sometimes I actually understand completely what you're saying. It does sometimes appear and often appear like when we think of something long enough or hard enough that it actually somehow occurs, whether we meant to or not. And in my case, I'm never trying to manifest things. But you're right, though. I mean, sometimes I think your willpower, and maybe there's something to why they call it willpower. What your willpower is, because I mean there's a lot of meaning in these words and the usage of them and the actual definition behind them, and what we think of as a catchphrase may oftentimes be quite more than that. Willpower is a good example, but we also know that the subliminal type of messaging is quite real, quite everywhere for that matter. I mean, you look at the newest iPhone comes out, right? I mean, you're going to see a mile-long line, people camped out for days just to get it, when you can actually get it the next day or the day after that or the day after, or even the week after or the month that, like, you're still going to get that same one, right? But there's something driving the individual soul and person, the character and nature of what that person would typically do, or the route that they would typically take. They deviate from it and they do something out of character, in my opinion, such as camping out for a cell phone or a Taylor Swift concert or anything. I mean, I'm sorry, but how diehard can we really be unless it's being programmed into us, whether it be subliminal messaging or just direct, like, look, he's doing it, you need to do it too. And I think that the whole human population is easily influenced. I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? No matter what. We are easily influenceable people. It's called keeping up with the Joneses, which I could care less about. In fact, I don't want to be anything like the Joneses ever. In fact, I'd be just rather not even known by a last name whatsoever. But there is a drive in the human nature and character that we feel we must relate in order to fit in, conform in order to belong, and I guess just have this constant need to be on the same level as everyone else. There's a competition of some sort, which we don't even know what we're competing for. That's the weirdest part of all. you know, somebody set the stature of where we got to be anybody or somebody, or the standards of that. And we're so misled in so many ways. And MK Ultra, this is where this is going from there, right? So They Live, yes, it's a movie. Yes, there's something to that. The man's putting on glasses and he's suddenly able to see into reality, or what someone called a false reality. But he's seeing these messages, like you said, Candy, right, on the billboard signs, and, you know, like somebody sucks or this, that, or the other. I mean, just putting it out there plain as day, where typically you're looking at the billboard and it's just a simple, you know, ad for, you know, Slim Fast or whatever it may be. But there are other things involved. And with technology, especially what we have now, we've got cell phone towers that went up consistently and constantly during the pandemonic. Again, read between the lines, where everybody's like, you're grounded. You go to your casa, you go to your casa, everybody go to each other's casas and stay there and don't have any contact. You know, keep that social distance and actually don't socialize at all, because, you know, and if you're in China, Lord forbid, you know, they got these little robotic drones and whatnot coming around being like, you get back to your room, whatever. There's something wrong. Dictatorship through and through. But we actually saw towers go up on every single corner. I mean, our schools, like, everyone's shut down, right? But yet all these workers are going into the public school systems, and they are literally incorporating the lighting, you know, just the lighting, the actual type of lighting and the bulbs that they put into the schools. So all of a sudden it's fluorescent lighting, or, you know, what kind of lighting I'm actually speaking of. And I've got to be very careful with how I say this. But your cars, the car headlights, most of them now are not the same color as what we remember, right? It's a very bright, almost blinding. You can't hardly drive without feeling like you're going to wreck or disoriented. Well, they did that. They went into the school systems or the school districts, into our schools while we were at home, because we couldn't go out, couldn't pass go with something I still believe was, well, that's a whole nother ball game. But what I'm telling you is they purposely put towers, lighting. In this in particular lighting, there's communication that happens through that. There's more than communication that happens to that. MK Ultra through and through, all day long, through these towers, beaming whatever at you. And I've actually got a good video that proves and shows these towers are beaming stuff constantly at us. And I mean, this was 6 years ago, maybe, in my earlier videos. But I mean, I'm outside and you can see this white orb go from the tower, the big bright light that's also one of those light bulbs that I'm talking about, but on a very extreme, intense level, beam this big, huge white ball orb looking, clear looking thing straight at me. I could not see it with the naked eye, and I would have never known it happened had I not been videoing, not even the cell phone tower, but what I was looking at beyond that. So you guys, like, you got to forgive me. My hair is a disastrous mess right now. But like I said, there's more going on than what we realize. And our technology, whether it be via computer, your cars are smart now. Your cell phones are smart. Your radios are smart. Your kids are smarter. I mean, it's programming through and through. But there is messaging, I think, that's been intertwined within all of our technology. And I don't think it's just happening now. I think it's been ongoing for much longer than we realize. What is your take on that, Candy?
Oh yeah, like I said, now they've got the technology where it's like, okay, now it's, I can't even wrap my mind around all the just constant, like I said, I think about something and, you know, there it is in front of me, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. And those castor oil
positive manifestation for sure, though.
And I mean, I just kind of looked them up to see how much price they were running. That was all I did. I wasn't looking to buy any. And then I just happened to go there. It was $3 day. And I'm like, okay. So your next care package, you'll get one.
So, I mean, isn't that great, though, that you can actually incorporate that and almost turn it around in your favor? And if we all just kind of believed in that way, and I think a lot of it might be in your faith, right? In your belief in good versus bad, or evil. I don't know. I really don't have the answers. I wish I did, but I just know that there's a lot of programming going on either way.
Well, I mean, if it's going to work to our benefit, I'm not complaining.
Or if we make it work to our benefit, right?
Right.
I mean, I guess, like I said, I know there's been many times that without even knowing how or why, but just when you think on a positive level or you think about certain things do happen. It doesn't happen near as often for me as it has for you. I think, the things that happen for you they're just absolutely astounding and amazing. But I almost think that there's also different levels of this, good versus evil, in the same concept. And the subliminal portion is real all day long. I mean, I tried having the conversation with my dad. It's been a few years ago. I kind of gave up on having conversations with him like that, because it just usually ends up in belittlement, or you're dumb, or you're crazy, or she's stupid, she believes in this, or which is hurtful, by the way, because it's not like I don't just believe, it's like I know. But out of love and respect, I take the belittlement with my tail tucked between my legs and I walk away, which is kind of the story with most of us out there, which is so sad. It's so sad to ever have to, walk away with your tail tucked between your legs when all you're doing is speaking the truth, and what you're saying is not only true, valid, but important. So I just know that conversation between him, that one in particular day, I said, well, Dad, you believe in MK Ultra? You know about that, right? He's like, oh, yeah. Of course I do. But that didn't work. So because it didn't work, and I'm like, oh, so, well, you believe in, remember they were, seeding the clouds, during the World War. And he's like, oh, yeah. But that didn't work. And all I could do was look at him and say, so because that didn't work, which actually it kind of did, but because it didn't work out in the best interest or the favor or with the outcome that they would have, the overwhelming outcome that they were expecting, you thought they just put that baby to bed, threw it out with the bathwater and nothing else? Or being that we are supposedly in an ever advancing and evolving human race, did we not maybe just go and make that 20 million times better every day and perfect it? And he just was like, no, it just didn't work. And it was bizarre to me that his mentality, and it's not just his alone, but half of the world's, they just can't see past that. They're just like, well, it didn't work, so we didn't. And it was just, this or that. And it's like, you believed it happened then, but it didn't work. But right now I'm sitting here telling you this is what's happening to us and me. It's mind-blowing, is it not, that they can't think past or outside that box enough to understand that if it happened then, it for sure can happen now, and to much more extreme levels, with dedication and more technology behind it, and lots of studies to make it so much more advanced that we could ever even wrap our minds around.
Do you remember me telling you about when my father back in the 70s was going to college and they were teaching those kids? They were right out of high school. My dad was older when he went to college, but he was, most of them were right out of high school going to college, and they were teaching them then about all this New World Order stuff. And he even come home and
that is bizarre.
Yeah, he even came home and he told us, he said, in the future, he said, they're going to be able to know everything you eat, everything, who your friends are.
And that was then, right?
Yeah, that was in the 70s. And I mean, as crazy as he was and as evil as he was, but again, I think he was targeted then, and that's what made him do a lot of the things he was doing. But because he wasn't going along with all that, he spoke out about it. But he was the only one. They didn't have Facebook and all then, but he was the only one speaking out against all that, because like I said, he was probably in his very late 20s or early 30s then. The other kids,
so
again, were right out of high school. That was 50 years ago. So if you think about it, the people that are how am I going to say this? The people that are involved in all the things that are going on right now with targeting people and all the things, they are in their 70s. That was 50 years ago. If they were just
Yeah.
graduated high school, that would make them that age group where he was saying, no, this is not right. He was telling people, and he got taken away one time, and we didn't even know where he was at for months. And it's like,
I don't know where I'm at, club. That's for dang sure. No pun intended. But
yeah, back then I think the guys came up to the house, these guys in a suit one day, and I don't know if I'd ever told you about this, but my little brother was there. He's like probably about 3 or 4. He's in training panties. They were in a white car. Back then there were white cars. They took my dad away, left my little brother at the house by himself, and he was
that's against the law now, right?
Yeah, but
Wow.
this is where he disappeared for like months. We didn't even know where he was at. But my little brother ran in his training panties to my mother's job, which was probably about 2 miles away. She worked
Oh
in a
my
nursery
gosh.
and a bowling alley, and he run through the bowling alley in his training panties, trying to go tell my mom. And she's like, he's trying to tell her these 2 men came, they took him away, and she's like, what are you talking about? And he's all crying and upset and panting because he ran all the way there. He was freaked out.
Little teeny kid, for that matter.
Yeah, and my mom, she's like, what are you talking about? He's like, oh no, these men in a white car and these 2 men in suits in a white car, they just took him away. And
Men in black suits, maybe.
yeah, well,
It's
in a
serious,
white
but
car,
I'm just saying.
car. But
Especially in the 70s, that was reported upon a lot.
Yeah,
The men in black suits, actually.
Well, come to find out, they put him in a mental institute in a solitary confinement.
I knew nothing about that one. Sorry. No
We
idea.
didn't hear from him. We didn't hear from him. Then one day, they let him make a phone call, and he called the neighbor's house, and the neighbor came over and got my mom, and he said, I've been locked up here for. We didn't even know where he was. I was happy he was gone, but still, I was kind of freaked out because
against their will for what? On what grounds? Unbelievable.
They just because he was going around telling people about all these things.
When I got locked up, going around telling people, which made me talk louder on YouTube. Maybe your dad wasn't so crazy after all, and maybe all these people. And keep in mind, in the 1800s, late 1800s, early 1900s, every beautiful building with this articulate, wonderful, beautiful architectural designs were what? Insane asylums. And what did we have? All these orphaned children on orphan trains traveling from East Coast to West Coast, just dropping child after child, from infants to teenagers, just dropping them at people waiting in line. Like, I need a worker. We got to freaking make the U.S., we got to populate it and have to have somebody do the work. So let's just put all the parents in an insane asylum, take their kids and spread them throughout the continental U.S. on an orphan train and drop them off with people that really don't love them. They just want to work them to the bones, which is why you see all these photos of these young children in factories or selling newspapers on the street with no mommy or daddy because they're orphaned. There's a reason this happened, and I will argue this all day long. All and anyone that wants to sleep in La La Land and keep dreaming about it and staying there thinking that we just suddenly populated this area because, we had hardly anyone here. Came over on ships, supposedly, right? And by the way, when you see a sign that says founded in 1896, and you see them on every building, I'm going to ask you real quick, what does founded mean? Founded, not built, not constructed in 1896, not built in founded in 1896 or whatever it's founded. We are the inheritors of buildings and structures that already existed throughout the whole entire continental US, which, yes, half of them were buried in mud and dug out later, which is why you go into all these downtown areas and you see these so-called basements, but completely unlevel with half a window here, and the rest of it's buried underground, or staircases with doorways that are half buried. And it's a no-brainer. You can look at the architecture and clearly see that that is not how that building was once upon a time. We are the inheritors. We did find it all right. It was founded correctly.
Hey,
That is no
and
doubt.
think about this: Christopher Columbus discovered
He
America.
wasn't even here, yeah. Yeah, no, he discovered, he actually shipwrecked his damn self on not even remotely close to the U.S. Well, here on the
I
continental
think he
U.S.
was the first
But yeah,
one here.
our
Okay,
whole
how did you discover
historical
something?
factor is a lie. So I guess that's where I'm going with all of this. I was taken away. Your dad was taken away. We could come across looking really crazy, which could honestly produce some really mean, vindictive, really bad people if they do this to the wrong people that aren't strong in their strength and their faith, right? Which, obviously sounds like with your dad, he sounds like a broken individual, which led him to not be, or maybe he already was not a good individual. But when you shove something down someone's throat like that, you're either going to come out broken and bandaged and rising above it, or broken, beat down, and pretty much dead inside. And I think those are, it's going to be one of the two of them. And honestly, this is what was delivered to us on a silver platter as far as I'm concerned. And again, go ahead and look it up, Google it, research it. Don't take my word for anything I say. Google orphan trains. Go ahead and don't Google. I mean, honestly, Google's going to filter out everything. Go to DuckDuckGo. Use DuckDuckGo, which is a non-biased search engine, and put in orphan trains, put in U.S. insane asylums, put in how many people, what was the population in the insane asylums in each area. Do the math. Keep in mind that, again, these buildings were founded, and look at the architecture. Tell me how a horse and buggy built that, or a chisel and hammer. And given the population size and how one man could be the architectural designer of two different buildings, on one in the West Coast, one in the East Coast, same name, and be there building these same buildings and in person present, but you'll never see a picture of any of these, people, by the way. I think they're fictitious names, but long story short, on the East Coast, West Coast, keeping in mind that we only have horse and buggy, no automobiles, nothing in that day, with what they've said these buildings and the time frame they were constructed in. So here's this architectural designer, this builder, and he's on the East Coast and West Coast within like 13 days apart, both places. Man, he must have hauled ass on that horse and buggy, right? From the East Coast to the West Coast. He was hauling some booty to get there on a horse and buggy, because I don't know about you guys, but last time I checked, that is a good 5-day drive in an automobile. So, horse and buggies, like, yeehaw, let's go. I'm going to build this one and this one. And these beautiful structures, huge, magnificent buildings that take us months and months and months to build, were all constructed 2 at a time by the same person in both places at one time in like 2 months' time. I mean, don't take my word for it. Go ahead and look up buildings, look up who designed them, look at what year, when, and where. It's not hard work to do. Yes, it's time consuming. But before you dog us anymore, you call us crazy or insane or whatever you want to call with that foul, ugly names, just do your own footwork first, okay? Don't take our word for it, but don't call me any damn name again until you do your own dang work. And that's all I can say.
Reminds me of a post I saw the other day. They showed the moon landing, right? The Dune buggy. It's like, how did Dune buggy get on the moon?
Right? Or when the flag is not blowing or blowing, or all of it. And by the way, and I'm only going to say this probably 500 million more times. How am I taking a Sony Handycam camcorder and I'm outside and I push zoom and it goes all the way to the freaking surface of the moon, which is approximately 250,000 miles away, the moon, okay? Now, last time I checked, any type of video camera, being the very best, a Nikon P1000 can zoom up to about 45 miles. The very best one, which nobody could afford anyway, unless you're an elitist, can zoom around 70 miles and get things into full zoom. I'm out there with my little Sony, it's $1,500 camera, zooming into the surface of the moon, seeing freaking sunbursts on the sun on all of these like explosions happen. On the moon, I can see hills and bumps and cities and avenues and cul-de-sacs with a little flipping video camera. I'm seeing like things floating above the moon, like crafts and letting things down and pulling things up. And there's a man that actually has a really good video on that I actually shared on one of my videos recently. But how can something be that far away and my little video camera put even a dent in my viewing or your viewing or anyone's viewing perspective of the sun, the moon, or any planetary object? And we won't even go with Uranus. Yeah, I have to say that one. I got to throw that one out. But I mean, literally, I had Jupiter the other night. Jupiter, and a lot of people say, well, Jupiter has all these moons, blah, blah, blah. Jupiter has moons on each side, which would typically make that look, if what they say is true, like a satellite, right? I mean, if what they're saying, which, you know, if they're even saying that, it probably is a satellite. But the whole point being is I zoomed into Jupiter, and that's a hell of a lot further away, by the way. Zoomed into that little motro, and it looks like a flippin' appendage, like a mechanical arm holding Jupiter. And I watched the thing moving around, swooping in, swooping down, going back up. I mean, they're lying. They've been lying. And the subliminal messaging apparently has worked. But I mean, when you got realize, which is where we are, realize. Yeah, go ahead and say it to yourself about 5 times fast, but you'll get it. When you get the eyes to see, you just know. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Nobody's gonna tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't have the answers, but I know what I'm talking about. I know what I see, and that's good enough for me. But to be belittled and put down, especially by my dad, who's one also, by the way, that has seen the strange things, that has seen craft come up over a horizon when he was 15, him and his friend out, and the things zip off into outer space like there was no tomorrow in the blink of an eye. Like, that's impossible, as we've been told, and so we've been told. But I mean, there's too many people crying the same thing, singing the same song, telling the same story for us to be making stuff up. And it's getting old. It's getting old, but yeah, we just keep getting reprogrammed and reset. Like, well, reset them. Well, show them another thing. Reset them again. And it's like they do not and will not let us advance on any level. And sorry, but you're not holding a lot of us back. I mean, there's a few of us here right now. We already see through your lies, and it's on like Donkey Kong. That's all I can say. Like, you better get ready, because we're here for the fight. We're not leaving. We're here and we're in the fight for sure. So good luck with that. That's all I can tell you. Elitists, which they call you elite because, well, there's freaking 5 of you, right? And here we're all afraid. And yeah, they can do some things, let me tell you, but we can do greater things, and we can do all things through Christ the Lord who strengthens us. Kind of that easy and yet that hard. So, yep, I went off on a tangent, but I've been feeling it lately. I've been feeling it. So,
That's
Candy,
the way I
a few things that have happened as well that my daughter's calling. I'll ignore her for a second. But you've told me a few things that has happened to you as well. If you don't mind elaborating to everyone on, 1 second, Shyla, to everyone on some of the things that you've seen yourself that there's no logical explanation.
It's anything in particular you're thinking of? Because my brain is like,
yeah, the old man in the room was definitely one that I'll never forget.
yeah. So that was kind of a long story, but just to give y'all a rundown, I don't know if any of y'all have heard the story or not, but there was a night when I was a teenager when my grandfather, like 4 times my size, grown man, tried to push himself on me, and there was a propane heater behind me. So anyway, I winded up punching him, broke his glasses, and cut his face, and his glasses fell to the floor, and so he couldn't see. So I ran to my room, closed the door, and locked it, and anyway, so I was scared to death that he was going to come in that room and hurt me, but so I was afraid to go to sleep, but I turned the light out and opened up my window. I had a big jealousy window, and it was cold. It was winter. But I laid there mortified, thinking, well, if he comes through that door, I've got to jump through that window. So anyway, so I eventually fell asleep, and so sometime in the middle of the night, just something woke me, and so I looked at the foot of my bed, and there was this little, probably, I don't know, he was very short man, old man, long white beard, long white hair, and a white gown, standing at the foot of my bed. And I'm like, oh gosh, I gotta be sleeping, you know. So I was rub my eyes and I'm looking again and he's still there. And I'm like, man, I must be losing my mind because I turned the lights out and there's no way that if this guy's standing there, whoever he is, I don't even know who he is. So I'm like, okay, I'm going back to sleep, pull the blanket over my head, you know, try to go back to sleep. A few minutes later, I pull the blanket down, I look again, he's still standing there. And I'm like, oh, what in the world is going on? I'm like, I must be losing my mind. So I just pulled the blanket back over, finally dozed back off again. Got up the next morning, and I had put a chair up underneath my doorknob too, as well, and locked it. So I got up the next morning. My light was on, the window was closed, and the chair had been moved away from the door. It was still locked, but the chair had been physically moved from in front of the door to in front of my closet. And I'm like, what in the world? I knew I had turned that light out and opened up that bedroom window because I was so fearful that I was going to have to jump out of it, you know, in the dark. And so I get up, I go out, and my mom's sitting there. I was like, did you go in my room last night? No. And you sure you didn't go in my room last night? No. And I'm like,
I'll tell you
so,
what, though, supernatural at its finest, with or without glasses, right?
right. So again, you know, I think that really, it really was a manifestation and the physical being of a guardian angel that stood there at my door, you know, and
You had the faith of protecting, and in the, I believe you had the faith in the Lord God Almighty. And that old man in the white beard comes in many forms as your own Lord. And I think, again, you
and
manifested
that's why my
protection.
grandmother told you.
Absolutely. You prayed for it. No matter how you pray for it, a prayer is a prayer.
Well, and
So
that's why my grandmother told you in that vision, you don't have to worry about Candy. She's a
she's a
fighter
fighter
just like
like
you.
me.
Because
I'll never forget that.
she punched me
Um,
too, you know.
and it
So.
was bizarre hearing it because I didn't even know your personality or your story yet or anything. And I just thought, man, this is a touchy subject, you know, like
I was
who,
like, you can tell me
who
anything.
she's
I
not
don't
going to
care.
listen
I'm
to
like,
me. So, but
I'm
I
gonna
don't
be
know. And that goes back to, you know, another portion of they live and with the glasses or whatnot. How would I know that? How could I have known that? How could I know half the things? And I know that James Wilson also knows of this because I have called things out to him as well. And many of you, I know many of you that are on here have spoke with me, and maybe not all of you have brought stuff up to, but and keep in mind, there's nothing special about me, so I don't think it comes from me. I think sometimes that the Lord works through us or uses us as his own tool because I mean, I refuse to believe that it comes from an evil place, especially, I mean, because I
well,
was trying for that. It doesn't work like that,
things
especially if the
are,
message was so clear. It was such a
yeah, and
beautiful
things
message,
aren't
and I
always
did
clear
this.
though. You know, sometimes the messages aren't always clear. And like I was telling you, when I was talking about that day, I'm like, I mean, this was a vision. I was wide awake. I just see eggs dropping and they're hitting the floor and they're breaking. And I'm seeing these eggs everywhere. And I start like, you know, my heart starts racing. I'm like, what is going on? You know, because
Yeah.
it wasn't like see-through or imaginary. I mean, I could see eggs dropping and hitting the floor. And I'm like, what does this mean? You know, so a lot of times we get these weird messages and we don't really
I don't know what to do
understand
with
them.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same thing happened with my September 11th visions, you know. I mean, I was getting bits and pieces of stuff every day for months, months, months. And I didn't understand, and I just knew it was going to be something really, really bad. And then it's like afterwards with the egg situation, you know, it's like the next day I heard on the radio when those eggs were dropping, I'm seeing these eggs dropping. There was a plane that had crashed the night before, and it had blown up, and people were just like,
Ugh. That just gives
and
me
that's
chills.
a heavy burden to carry when like I said, I was young. I was really young and had these things going on. So, emotionally, I don't even know how I managed to psychologically
You have
survive.
overcome psychologically so much. I can't even like plug in like your strength is undeniably like mighty, mighty, mighty. Your Lord God above loves you so much, and you have collected that strength like I have never seen. I mean, I'm
Again, I
telling
think
you,
too, because like emotionally, and almost physically,
spiritually,
I'm gonna
physically,
say it's like I feel like I've died 1,000 deaths, and it's like,
yeah.
but I'm still here. So it has to serve a greater purpose.
And that see, that's just it. I think that's where people lose themselves and maybe the faith and hope that they had in themselves. You got to understand that if you've been broken so much, so hard, there's a reason you're being broken, and that is for you to rebuild yourself on that very foundation because there was greatness in you from day one. Because not too many people can survive being broken in those many ways, especially the ways that I know of Candy and so many of you and myself. And I would never even want to compare myself on any level. I just know that we all have different weaknesses, and we have different strengths, and we have different places in our heart that we survive better in. And I just know that Candy Nelson survives in every place of her heart because she never had another choice, and she just did it because you know what? She can do all things through Christ the Lord that strengthened her, because she knew from day one the living word of God was within her, and he is within all of us on so many, and not just, I mean, I'm talking on a quite literal level of speaking. The living word of God is within you. It is in your DNA. The chain of DNA is so real. Your DNA has broken cycles and different cycles of other human traces and ancestry that has integrated itself into your own self somewhere along the way, right? But no matter what, in that strain of DNA is the living word of God. It was the very first, and it'll be the very last, and it isn't going anywhere. It's there to stay, and you can't get rid of it, even if you tried. You can deny it. I highly advise you not to, but there's no way of getting rid of the living word of God. It is within you. Denying him is one thing. It's still part of you either way. But we have a choice that's very real. And I want to agree with what Kim has said here. We couldn't build those buildings even today. And so, so true. But she says that's why I think that we're living in the short season and that Satan has been released. Kim, I'm right there with you on so many levels. Like, girl, you have no idea. I mean, I know you have an idea, but yes, I think we might be in the short season already. I think Satan has been released. I think, well, I know our timeline is incorrect. And I've felt this and known it in my heart for quite some time, but to say it out loud to people, they're like, oh, she's crazy. Well, let me just have another vacation to the cuckoo house where I could be drugged up and forget about it all again. So nobody ever. I'd rather go through the pain a million times over than ever forget about anything because, again, we have great purpose. With that said, though, Candy, I'm going to let you take it from here. I told you I was going to share a screen tonight. I got something I'm going to pull up that I bet a lot of you can relate with. Connie talked about, a $1,500 cell phone that she videoed with. Heck, the sad thing is we can pull out any camera we have now and get these things. So we know they're lying. And I guess that's what I'm getting at. I mean, again, anyone that saw my video, I'm flying over and above the sun, going back from Oregon to Houston. There's me in a 36,000 foot commercial airliner flying over the sun, okay, which is what I'm going to try to show you here in a second. But Candy, I'm going to let you take it while I can kind of conjure this up in the best way I can without there being awkward silence.
Get a conjure?
What's that?
Did conjure? I'm like,
Ooh, I shouldn't say that. Conjure. You know what?
I know,
Truthfully, truth be told, I've noticed this a lot. A lot of the words that we use today can make or break us, and that is one word we should probably all steer clear of. So I'm not going to conjure anything up. I'm going to do my very best in my abilities to make this happen for your viewing pleasure or displeasure. There we go. Actually, that was a good call, Candy, though, because think about it. The words and the phrases that are commonly known in our day and
I
time.
probably wouldn't have thought anything about it if we hadn't been talking about all this other supernatural stuff. And you said that, I was like,
True. I mean, I mean, it's true. Like, it is so true. Just like I don't even remember what I said in the beginning, but that phrase of willpower, right? I think that's what it was. I mean, I just think that there's a lot more. Words are powerful. Let's put it like that. Words are spells too. And we know that, back in the Sumerian days, the Egyptian, that words were their power. So we have to be very careful. We walk a fine line in between two worlds. And with as much as we have been misled, discernment's all we got. So pray to God every day that he shows us that as much as he can, because as much as we can receive and keep our hearts and our eyes open to it, because man, it's confusing. It's such a hard thing to understand, and it's been incorporated into our everyday lives and taught to be acceptable, where trying to differentiate good and bad it's really hard, much harder than it ever was, and it's going to only get harder. But all right, Candy, I'm gonna let you take it. I'm gonna try to get this up.
Well, I'm gonna share my beauty secret with them.
I love it. You look so good too. Like that. It looks amazing. You look very good.
I know it looks good.
I am proud of you.
Thank you. Okay, so guys, here's the deal. Okay, I'm admitting this publicly on YouTube. Anyway, yeah, I'm a smoker. I that's like my only escape from all this pain and frustration of dealing with these symptoms all the time, so it's like, yeah, I mean, I started probably, I don't know, when I was about 13, so I'm 61, so I've been smoking for a long time. And so I got it in my mind that I'm like, okay, this is not good for my health, and I've tried quitting many times, and I would like get rid of all the cigarettes and get rid of all the ashtrays, get rid of whatever, and just try to not think about it. And it just seemed like even the actual habit of going to the store and buying them was a habit for me. So it was like, even the cashiers at the store, when I go, it's like, oh, they knew exactly what kind. They pull them out before I even get there. And so, it's there's a lot of habits to break the hand to mouth action. And so
I'll
whatever.
tell you what, though, that's what a lot of it is. I think boredom, hand to mouth, or just the excuse for me was always just to take a break, right?
Like
I mean, to take a break away from life.
Yeah. And so what I did was, like I said, I've been up and down with it for years and years and years. So I've tried the patches before. Well, they irritate my skin. It causes, me to get rashes and break out and whatever. And can't do the gum. I've tried different things. And I don't even know what all I did. But anyway, so this time, okay, I decided, okay, I'm going to get the patches. There, you get like a 2-week supply for $28. So I get up every morning, well, almost every morning. I think I had one morning I didn't. And I put the patch on. And I just try to leave that patch on just as long as I can. If it starts irritating my skin, I'll pull it off. And, sometimes I'll have a cigarette right away. Sometimes I'll wait a couple of hours. But then there's been other days, like today, for instance, I actually went all the way to 7:10 tonight and had my first one. So anyway, I don't want to say that I'm quitting. So people ask me, "Oh, well, you're trying to quit?" No, I'm not trying to quit.
It's a mental thing too. Yeah.
And see, that's another thing too. I don't want to not expose myself to them, because I feel like that if I try to keep them away from me, because it's like a mind over matter thing, because if I try to keep them away from me, that's all I'm going to be thinking about. Well, if
Yeah.
they're there all the time anyway, because at any given point I get to choose whether or not I want to smoke. So, I
It's
mean,
all about
even if
control, I think, being in
somebody
control of our
keep it
own
away
lives,
from me,
right?
I go to the store and it's like, it's easy to buy a pack. So, I've got to get my mind empowered to say, okay, you make a choice, and you're going to be exposed to them. There's going to be people that smoke. You're going to go to the store. So you've got to learn how to get your mind right and say, it's a choice. I can choose to, or I can choose not to, because I'm always going to have access to them one way or the other. So, yeah, that part, I don't want to pretend like they're not there, or I'm not doing that. And again, I was telling Lisa that I've known so many people that smoked all their lives. And then when they quit smoking, next thing you know, they get diagnosed with cancer. So as far as stopping, I don't think I want to go 100% stop.
You'll
But
know when you know, because you'll make the choice. That's the best part.
exactly, and then that's what I'm saying. It'll be my choice whether or not I want to keep doing it or not,
Yep.
and stay on this path. So even with buying those patches, like I said, you get 2 weeks for like $28. I mean, my gosh, I mean, not buying, $10 worth of cigarettes every day, you know what I mean, for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
That, I mean, $140. So
exactly.
even
Yeah.
if I'm
But I
only
mean, look
going
at your
through,
skin. I mean, back to
yeah,
that. I mean, and if that's the only thing different that you have done, and since the skin clearing, that speaks for itself right there. I know. I mean, everything is. I think everybody, and then that's a whole nother word thing. Everybody and everybody is different, and I guess reacts to things differently. Whether it be good or bad. And I know for me, the whole thing about just not being in control of my wants or needs has always been an issue. And I think that's the human nature side of us, right? But when we have the control, we leave ourselves, or we program into our minds that we still have this control and the decision to make, is quite helpful, because nobody wants to be controlled. Actually, at the end of the day, nobody wants to be controlled, because it's against every bit of our human DNA that was ever created. Nobody wants to be controlled. So,
yeah.
all
So
right, I
well,
think I got this story to share. So,
well, just to tell them real quick. So basically, a pack now lasts me 3, 4, 5 days. When before I
that's
was going through
awesome.
between a
Good
pack to
job,
2 packs a day.
congrats. And
Yeah.
honestly, and I've heard, like I said, different things about nicotine. I heard the nicotine receptor is pretty much the one thing that is a healing factor and that helps with the C word, and not the ugly C word, but the other ugly C word. But I talked to Candy about this tonight too. What is actually going to help with anything these days if everything is genetically modified, so to speak, or geoengineered? Or so maybe like when our grandmother said, just put a little bit of mud and nicotine and rub it there, or bee sting or whatever.
Tobacco.
That's what we were told, and it worked. But I think tobacco is different then, and I do believe that there is some healing element to tobacco. I think anything that comes from Mother Earth, I mean, God provided us with healing elements by his own grand creation. It's a no-brainer. It is a no-brainer. Like, he put everything we needed in order to thrive, live, survive, and carry on here on Earth. And it certainly didn't come from Walmart or, home quarters. It was
Reminded me one time I took tobacco and mixed it up with honey and made me a facial mask.
a what?
I took tobacco and honey and mixed it together and put it on my face, and just to see.
Hey, we're our own best guinea pigs and doctors, and And here's a funny thing. I mean, anytime y'all browse through any, like, especially on Facebook, any of the Morgellons communities, you're going to hear on pretty much every page and channel, everyone's going to be like, I'm a guinea pig for humanity. I try everything on myself just so I can save everyone else with Morgellons. And I am not making fun of that on any level. Like, that is what we all say. That shows how selfless we are. Like, we're sitting here, you know, we're the black sheep of the family. We're dodged, neglected, and abandoned on every level possible. Doctors won't listen, and we put ourselves up there. We become our own doctors. Heck, we're pouring sugar, spikes, and everything not nice on our bodies, making these concoctions and candy. I'll tell you what, she's been doing this for so long. She knows what works and which way and leads and directions to go. But I find it so amazingly ironic how we become our own healers, our own doctors, and we become so selfless that we literally will put our lives on the line just to help the Morgellons community in its healing, because nobody else will. I mean, when I was taking the horse ivermectin, I had no idea how much to take. I mean, I know I'm not the horse size, you know, I'm definitely no 300-pound gelding or stallion or anything like that. But I mean, we do these things because we're number one, we're left with no other choice, but because we have to, because we have to figure out what's going to help us, what's going to get us well. Because again, the first do no harm people that call themselves physicians and doctors, and I'm going to help you. Well, we know we're not getting it from them. And all of these other, this C to the D to the C, which we called it the Center for Delusional Control or Conspiratorial Reasons, they were never made to help us. They were there to evaluate all the stuff that they've distributed into the human body for the past, I don't know, well, when did the first that nation thing come about? When around the 40s, right? The very first one. So yeah, the C to the D to the C, of course they're going to be that center for that. And they want you to go straight in there so they can evaluate their like evil genius product and see where it's going and how it's evolving and have something to report on them. Maybe what we could do better next time to like make this human race even dumber. And I mean, you're welcome. I called it exactly like it is. And Center for Delusional Control, conspiratorial efforts on every level. But here's another conspiratorial delusional effort. This photo here. Okay, this isn't a photo, this is a video. I'm flying home, West Coast to Houston, Texas, right? So I'm going east, kind of a little southeast, right? So I'm in a commercial airliner, 36,000 feet above the skyline, the clouds, the atmospheric clouds, right? Now, some of you could say, well, that's because the sun's going down over there. And by the way, I don't give a crap if the world's round, flat, SpongeBob, squishy britches. I don't care. I do not care. I mean, that's the portion of any of this that I don't care about what shape it is, what color, what this, that, or the other. I just know my God made it. Whatever he made is great. And, end of story. But what I do care about is the fact that our sun, given its 93 million, not thousands, 93 million miles away from us, above us to be exact. So I don't care what side of the earth you go to, on any level, square, round, SpongeBob, squishy, britches, flat, I don't care. That sun's still going to always appear where it's 93 million miles above you. Granted, if given what they say is true, which I do not believe, that the earth is constantly spinning, and the sun will eventually be on the bottom side, blah, blah, blah. I don't even care about that. Don't even care. The point is, the proof's in the pudding. So here I am flying. You can clearly see, now before I even start the video, you can clearly see that the skyline is right about, well, you see where the little sun portion is right here. My stupid little thing won't let me point at it, but so you see my like little cursor, let's see, right up here maybe?
Put your finger on it.
It won't let me. Can you see my finger now? No. Well, maybe you can where I just put it. Nope, it's not going to show it. Well, you see where the sun is, okay? The biggest, brightest orange spot in the lowest portion of the clouds, right? You can clearly see it's sunken in there. And now above that, you can clearly see the dark blue atmospheric cloudage line there, right? And on the other side, you still see light that is being emitted in on the other side, and there's still cloudage there. If you can clearly not see that, there it is. And what do you have directly above that? A very royal, like sky-colored blue sky, not even royal, but a sky blue colored sky, right? But below, it's dark. Well, what do we have when we're down on Earth and not in that 36,000 foot, commercial airliner? You can see the dark clouds. You can see the sun sinking. We have dark areas below us, and we're experiencing nighttime. But I'm flying, okay? The time is getting later because, again, I'm going from the West Coast towards the East, okay? So obviously, I'm losing time because the sun rises in the east, it sets in the west. So I'm just, and I'm not making fun of anyone that doesn't know this, just to give you an idea. So when you're flying back from Eugene, Oregon at approximately 4 p.m., you got to keep in mind that it is 6 p.m. in Texas. So about this time, it's probably 4:30 or 5 where I'm flying over. And I want to say this is somewhere in Nevada area, more than likely. So probably going on 5 p.m. here. Again, kind of early for the sun to be completely setting, but not. But either way, you're seeing nothing but clear blue skies in the very back there. Like, how do I do this? This way, that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's not working. Trying to show my fingers here. Pointing though, the other way, Elise. So you can clearly see that's a very sky blue sky there. There's no nighttime up there where I am, is there? So, and the further I go, it's still the same color of sky. But that sun is not above me on any level, any shape nor form. Is this sun above me? Whether it's setting or not, look beyond the sun. You can see still more clouds behind that. If you can see clouds on the other side of that sun, that tells you what? The sun is not 93 million miles away. But here we go. I'm going to play this. I mean, this is a brainer, guys. That sun is below me, no matter what. And I'm just like, what is going on? I mean, I've seen this before, but not to this extent. It was so obvious. And I kept having issues with the focus because I was trying to zoom in, but I kept touching it. But I mean, I just, anyone that wants to argue with me on this point, I will go on for days with you. You can give me all the little excuses you want. I'm going to call BS every day, all day long, because 5 p.m., 6 p.m., or any time p.m. or 3 p.m., that sun should never be right there and me above it with that perspective at all, ever. End of story. End of story. The same as zooming into the moon or the sun and getting complete detail with little Sony 4K Handycam. Just complete detail. No, not anything. You guys have been lied to. Our world is not what it seems. Everything above us, in my own opinion, is
Your voice is going lower, Lisa. You can hear me.
But this is enough said.
I can barely hear you.
For every theory that most like you have said, I don't know what does in your face. And I'm sure I'm going to get one person's comment and say, oh, well, no. But I mean, it's just like, oh, that's like, it's an illusion. It's a mirage in the desert. And I'm going to call BS all day long. Zoom in if you're that smart. Screenshot it, zoom in, and we'll talk later. And then you can try your little science act with me because I'll still win every time. So, especially that time because I went through this enough.
Can you hear me?
That said, I'm going to remove this now.
Your voice is really low, Lisa.
That's because I'm trying to get rid of this, so hold on.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Okay, better?
Yeah, we could barely hear you when the video was going.
Yeah, because I was picking up that. But like I said, anyone that wants to argue the point that that's impossible, and they're going to be like, oh, but it's like a mirage. It's like this. No, it's not. Screenshot it, zoom in, do your own math. And you can argue all day long, but too many of us already know. Like I said, I take a little regular, I'm an investigator. I use the same video camera and I'm zooming in, I can see the surface of the moon, the sun, and all of the solar bursts. I beg to differ. Everything's a complete lie. The moon landing, I mean, come on already. Everything has been staged. The whole world's a stage, and every man and woman merely players. And it wasn't lying when that was said. It is exactly that. All the world's a stage. And there's a handful of people that thought they were being pretty clever, and they actually were very, very clever. But the thing is, there's still more of us, and if people would just open up their eyes and wakey, eggs and bakey it kind of thing, we might, be able to save a few more of us somehow. So, and again, this is back to they live. And what the whole point of this was showing you put the glasses on or don't. We don't care. But there is some reality going on behind the scenes that I think it's important that you all need to be aware of. And I know everyone on this channel, for the most part, without doubt, all the people live now, we already know you're there with us in spirit, heart, mind, soul. We're all sitting looking kind of the same way. But when this video is shown later at a later time, which, it'll be available, there will be new people that come to it that I pray and only hope and pray that we can open their eyes and see that the stories that we have shared and the messages that we share and the hope and the drive, especially Candy's whole, survival since she was so young, like there's a message to be heard in all of this. And it's survival, and it's belief, it's hope, it's faith, and all things are possible. And if it's not obvious, I don't know what else is, because we're living, all of us are living, walking, breathing, flipping miracles, and nobody's going to convince me otherwise. And Candy, my darling, you are indeed every one of those things and more, without doubt. So with that said, it's been real, and it's been fun. And if any of you out there would like to come on, be brave enough to come on here with Candy and I one of these nights and give your testimony, we would love to have you, would love to hear it. I think the more of us that share our journeys, our messages, our insight is the very best thing we could be doing right now, especially in a world that's looking pretty dim and dingy. And they're forcing ways upon us that I don't plan on conforming to on any level. So the more the merrier, so to speak. But we need your stories. We need your testimonies. And most of all, we just need your love and support, and want you to know that you have our love and support. We believe in you, have faith in you. And we know for a fact that you were put here for good reason. You have a journey to journey on and a story to tell of your own. And we love you.
And I want to say something else too. It's like I told you, when all the abuse and stuff was going on when I was a child, and I had to keep all that bottled up inside of me, and I was afraid to tell anyone or speak up, your silence, like it manifests into physical.
It's like keeping a prisoner imprisoned.
Like it holds you in bondage. And so I think that all of my healing, whether it was from the childhood trauma, eventually I started speaking up, and even with Morgellons, it's like once I started speaking up, it's like that's when my healing began. I mean, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, every other way. But as long as I was silent, I was so consumed in negativity and demonic visions. I mean, I saw horrible demons and just experienced the most horrific things. And it's like when I started like speaking out, then all the more positive, like the angels, like and again punching my grandfather that night. That could have been bad. Right. But somehow or another, here I had this guardian angel standing at my door watching over me all night long. I mean,
that's the testimony right there that you can't deny. That right there is why we need to preach everything and say it from the mountaintops. Don't harbor it. Don't hold it in.
And again,
Don't
you
say
know,
you'll do it tomorrow. Do it now.
I didn't get any support with Morgellons until I started talking to people. You're not going to get a support base if you're silent about it. You want support?
Honestly,
You
that's
gotta
the
scream
healing
it.
right there. That's why people go to
Exactly.
therapy, or they got to go see a therapist or a psychologist or whatever it may be. And I am not dissing that on any level, but you got to understand it like this. If you have an infection and it's festering, right? Festering with infection, and you lance it, and trust me, I know, because I had an infected toe that swelled up like 5 times the size it should have. Once it's lanced and that infection oozes out, that relief is like, oh, like, thank you. It's just like giving birth. That relief of that pressure. Well, it's the same with your emotions and your spiritual well-being. If you are festering and holding all of this pain and negativity and evil things that have happened to you or hurt, or and with good reason, but if you're harboring that in and you have no way to lance that and let
To
that
release it.
bleed out or ooze, there's not going to be any relief. And that's where you don't have to actually hire someone. You can if you want, but you can call me. You can just letting it out, talking about it, just being able to release the infection is
Yeah.
the first step into healing the heart,
Well,
the mind, and the soul.
and again, like I told you, when you know I was going through all the abuse and stuff, I was younger. I'd sit on the city bus and talk to myself, you know, and it's
Whatever you
like,
got to do, right? Yeah. And Candy,
yeah,
that's the one story I remembered about you when you told me that, because this is something that I've always just kind of
out
been,
loud, out loud, guys.
I just knew that it was release for you. And when you told me that's what you were having to do, I'm like, she was healing. She was healing herself. The most
Yeah.
important, and you knew that you had to do that, whether
Emotionally,
people were listening or not. Just saying it out loud, knowing that
yeah,
there's ears around, was a
yeah.
healing mechanism. And what a brave thing and
What
wonderful
they
thing
just
to
look at me, I just remember it. It's like, you know, they're just looking at me like I was crazy or something because I'm talking out loud to myself, and I'm like,
do.
I
No,
just can't even tell
that's
you. I just,
amazing though, and you felt better too, right? Instantaneously, almost, right?
well, no, because it was a lot of damage. It took me a lot of years, and
But I mean, a
again, you know,
little at a time, though. It felt like a load after load after load. I'm thinking, and I only say this because right now I'm speaking with a woman that I just recently met. Actually, I was the private investigator on an infidelity case. I'm gonna just leave that there without giving too much away. But she's about my mom and dad's age, the most beautiful, beautiful soul you have ever met. I mean, just the sweetest woman. And it's anyone that's been married and has went through a divorce knows how devastating and heartbreaking that is, and what kind of pain goes with that. And no, she may not be on any level of knowing any of this or any of the supernatural side or any of the Morgellon side, because we're not all the same, you know. And I'm not going to throw that load on her. But I've watched this woman be able to heal and grow, you know. Especially, I just became her friend from doing this job, and then continuing to do it with no pay, because it's not about the pay. Sometimes it's about the healing or peace of mind. But long story short, just watching what she seemed to be like a volcano getting ready to erupt with emotions galore, pain, hurt, angriness, to where she's like, she has reined that in. She just needed a release, an outlet, someone to talk to, someone that understood, someone that's been through it. And here's the funny thing, this is we all could do that and be that band-aid or healing factor or lance, that whatever it is, just by lending an ear. It's so simple, it's free, and if we only knew how many people are out there that could use that. And Candy is one of the best examples I could think of, that she deserved that, and she just went and found it herself, whether they were going to listen or not. And it is just, that right there should be an example to everyone. Like, here's a woman that deserved for the whole world to listen. And when they didn't, she was going to tell them either way. But just think how easy it is for any of us. It's free. It's so easy to just say, I care. I'll listen. I may not understand completely, or I might understand ultimately all the way. But just to listen, it gives people a chance to bleed out that hurt, that pain, and that frustration,
But
and years sometimes of
listening,
hurt
but listening without judgment,
without
you know,
that's the
without
sometimes
judgment.
just listening and being quiet too, right?
Mhm.
And you can typically be perceptive enough with anyone to know if you don't relate, don't try to offer like it'll get better when it stops hurting, or and something my dad would say, oh, it'll feel better when it stops hurting. It's like, no crap, Sherlock. But I mean, I didn't say that to him, but I'm thinking it because I mean, it's the man that said, oh, I saw a UFO. Oh, you saw UFOs? Take her away. She's crazy. But see, I'm talking about it. I let some of that pain out again. And the thing is, that is the key to everything. Release, release. I don't care if anyone thinks you're crazy. I don't care if everybody thinks you're crazy. I don't think you're crazy. I love you unconditionally. And there's probably nothing you could say to me that would make me think any less of you. Well, unless you killed somebody or hurt a child, then I'm probably going to think a hell of a lot less. If not, make sure you get arrested and committed. But other than that, I learned a long time ago, don't judge, don't never say never. And
And
there's nothing that I won't believe in because I've seen it all, I think. So
and it gets easier, but it's like it's a process that you're not
yeah.
going to be like good at it the first time, but you keep doing it. Like I was telling you when it came to Morgellons, I was talking to total strangers in the store. Next thing you know, I got a crowd around me,
Yeah.
and they're listening. So, but I
We
mean,
have Daryl Calhoun with us here.
it just didn't come easy. But again, I mean, you got to start somewhere, and then once it's like you train yourself to not worry about what anybody thinks, not care, the
Keep your circles
negative
small and
comments.
your friends real, and your God at the helm, and you can't go wrong. I've had to, like, here I sit, Candy said, I sit every Friday night, every day, every single day, all alone, all completely alone. I don't go anywhere. I'm never invited anywhere. My sister and everyone going all these places, having fun, blah, 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 going on cruises, going on camping trips, going to barbecues just down the road, like 2 miles from me. Never am I invited. Never do I go. I'm always here alone. Now, the old me would have been heartbroken. Like, what did I do to deserve this? The new me is like, thank God. Thank you, Lord, that I am not having to go subject myself to fitting in with the Johnsons and conforming and trying to pretend to be someone that I am not. So they can just keep on in their ways, not inviting me. That's fine. I am sad. I would love to spend one-on-one time with my sister, my brother. I love them so much. Maybe one day they'll remember me, or maybe they won't. But here's the deal, Bill. I'll never forget them. And if I got to sit here, I'm great, because the blessing is I get to sit here and be with people that do love me and share in my stories and my hurt, and them vice versa, and the pain and our triumphs and our challenges and our weaknesses and our drives and our wins. And I couldn't think of a better way to spend this alone time than just like this with you all.
And
So I want to say thank you to all
so
of you from the
silly
depths
with
of my
each
heart.
other. We could be so silly with each other, and we all get it. It's like we're all laughing at the same thing when everybody else is like, "Oh, that's just bizarre. Why would she do that?" And we're just all laughing about it.
I mean, we can actually laugh at things that used to hurt us too now, and that's the great thing. I'm sorry, I'm just reading something here. Daryl said, rest in peace, Mike Morales. I am trying to, why does that name sound familiar to me? I'm trying to place that name. Mike Morales. Daryl, can you help me out with that, please, if you wouldn't mind? Daryl, if I think it's who I'm thinking of. That's Troubled Minds. Daryl, a blessing, let me tell you. Definitely Mike Morales, rest in peace. Yeah. Wyatt, Candy, does that name sound familiar to you? I mean, I want to say he was a Morgellons survivor.
I don't know.
Let's see. I can't. Trying to read all the messages here.
I can't even see them.
Yeah, I'm trying to click on them as I can, but they're still hard. I like the Restream platform better than the StreamYard with the ease of sharing the conversation, but this one is not very easy with that. I don't know why. Okay, wait. Now it's catching up maybe. Connie or Daryl or Kim, any of you, could you share in the comments about Mike Morales? I don't know why, but I know that name is super familiar, and the rest in peace part is really bothering me right now. So, okay, that one says I was born with the They Live sunglasses. Daryl, yep. I think that's what I think we all have in common. Kim Blanchard says, yes, Satan and those that have chosen to rebel against the Most High know that their time is almost over. This has been Satan's stage. Amen. And their time is almost over, and we will walk away laughing at Satan, and we know this. Still trying to get to the answer on that one. Why is this being my network is either slow or because it's just now showing me the rest of these messages suddenly rolling in. And
Well, I never got your email with a thing to get in. I'm like, what the world happened there?
that's crazy. I mean, it's been kind of, but keep in mind, anytime we've ever tried to go live or do anything technology wise, seems like there's always an obstacle, especially when the message being shared is like the most extreme and dire, especially when it comes to saving souls and getting through this and not giving in to Satan's ways or listening to his bogus. And that's exactly what it is. So he had above ground world channel. Oh my goodness. That's exactly. Kim Blanchard said he had above ground world channel. That's where I knew that name from. So I guess he passed away. I did not know that. Wow. Prayers to his family and loved ones and all those who mourn him, and for all of you too, that a talented individual. Wow. I'm just shocked. Thank you, Kim, for letting us know that. I knew that name from somewhere. That's heartbreaking. All right. Well, on that note, everyone, I guess we need to be counting our blessings, and we are blessed, and being grateful and thankful, and continue loving and supporting each other, and just going out into the world fearlessly, because we have nothing to fear. We're in full armor every day, and we're protected by the good Lord above, and these weapons formed will not prosper. I mean, that's obviously clear, and the weapons formed against us here or there, they'll never prosper. We already win. So, all right, guys, much love to all of you. Candy, anything else you want to add tonight? I'm sorry, I got that kind of like really hearing that about Morales. Sorry about that.
Can you see my arm? How it's flared up a little bit. This is where I had that big lesion, but it's kind of flared
I
up a
see
little
it
bit.
is. That's kind of where that part on my neck is like. There's a lump right there. Is it a lump too? Like a protruding area?
Yeah,
That's usually what I do, is that protruding area. So, did that just happen tonight?
Oh no. I had treated it with black salve a couple weeks ago, and that kind of
Oh, that's the same one. Oh,
yeah, so it's
actually, it looks pretty good considering how it was. Wow, that took a lot though.
Yeah, I still got to treat it again though. But oh my God, that's so painful.
You're braver than me, man. After seeing that, I have no desire to have the black set. I'd rather think I'd take an arrow into my body than that. That looks so painful. My goodness. I mean, honestly, I'm not going to lie, I'd probably try it, especially if it comes down to it. But man, you're a brave soul. I can say that for sure. But
good day.
You've had to be, huh?
Yeah, on a good day.
Yeah, you're brave. You are so brave, and I love you to death. I just not to death. See, that's another weird thing to say. I love you to death. No, I love you for all times, through good, bad, evil, living now, death after now, and then living again. That I love you forever. That's what I meant to say. So, love you guys forever, every one of you. I say love you to the moon and back, but the moon's come to find out it's a little fake, and things aren't going exactly as planned up there. Last I heard, or speculated, or looked through my little video camera at. So. I'd say love you to Uranus, but that would be weird. And we know where that went last time, completely south, which it wasn't intended to go south. So I just love you all forever in a very, very sister in Christ kind of way and a godly way of always. So I thank you guys for everything. What's that?
That's the ring you got me.
Oh, you have it on. Oh, that looks so pretty on you.
Yeah, I wear it every day.
Not seen like you wear that ever. That's, I mean, I'm never around you, but I mean, how nice. I love that. So yes, and one of you lucky people out there will also be receiving one of these rings that Candy just showed you. Because I think, Candy, we need to have another drawing just for, because I still have a couple saved back to send to some lucky individual.
Because I found a new book. I found the new book. It's Love Potion book, right? But the recipes in it.
The potion number 9?
Yeah, but the recipes in there, some of them are for food, some of them for like slushy drinks, baths, and it's all like natural essential oils and stuff. And like, it's to die for. I'm like, this.
Oh, you need to share. Yeah, that's awesome. For sure.
It's called
I love slushies, especially
Making Love Potions.
Oh, how cool. Let me guess where you found that. It's going to be nowhere where you ever expected to find it, right?
But it's got drinks in here and baths and food and all kinds of desserts.
That is awesome. All right. I'm going to let you guys go. Love you, Candy. You guys have a blessed night and stay strong. Here for you.
Good night, everybody.